Georgia Tech football is in a horrific spot right now. I made a video over the summer talking about Geoff Collins, his tenure at Georgia Tech, and why he needed to be fired. And after their Week 1 performance against Clemson, I don't think my opinion or stance on the matter has really changed. While the Jackets did compete for 2.5 quarters, they ultimately made the same mistakes that have haunted the entire Collins era. They lost the game and they got blown out. Georgia Tech football is in a very difficult spot because they'd owe the coach a lot of money, their rebuild had weird circumstances to it, and not a lot of coaches are going to want to go there anyways. In today's video, we're going to talk about Geoff Collins, the state of Georgia Tech football, and what my expectations and thoughts on the team moving forward are. Before we can do that, nearly 80% of you guys are not subscribed to the channel, so quickly be sure to hit that subscribe button, smash that like button for the algorithm, and turn on notifications so you never miss when I upload. Now let's talk about the Yellow Jackets. As some may know, Geoff Collins was actually the first ever director of player personnel when he arrived at Georgia Tech back in the late 2000s. He quickly climbed the coaching tree where he became the defensive coordinator under Dan Mullen at Florida and then took the head coaching job at Temple. After doing all right there, he decided to jump back down south and take the head coaching job at Georgia Tech to replace Paul Johnson. There was immediate hype for him. He could apparently recruit, he was going to change the offense up, and many loved his persona and swagger. Early on, he had 2 huge recruiting wins when he flipped quarterback Jeff Sims from Florida State and kept Jahmyr Gibbs home. Those 2 players would be fundamental in the latter 2 years of his tenure so far, but it's not resulted in a lot of wins. In 2019, the Jackets went 3-9 with a 2-6 conference record. In 2020, they went 3-7 with a 3-6 record. Last year, they went 3-9 with a 2-6 record and a home loss to Northern Illinois. To make matters worse, they got beat 100-0 in their last 2 combined games against Georgia and Notre Dame, and fans wanted Collins out. Except no one wanted to pay his buyout, so Collins was given a 4th season. Going into 2022, he lost his top player in Jahmyr Gibbs to Alabama, and there was really not a lot of talent there. He had a decent first recruiting class, but after that things fell apart. They would rely on a bunch of under-recruited players, and he'd have to hope that he inspired them enough to fight for his job. Week 1 was no easy task, as they would have to face up against Clemson. In that game, the defense actually made it interesting. For a little while, they slowed down Clemson's offense, and Jeff Sims made enough plays to make it a 14-10 game. Unfortunately, they let everything slide, the defense started to tire out, and then they got beat 41-10. They made a lot of dumb penalties, had some turnovers, and overall it looks like nothing has changed for Collins. The Jackets once again played sloppy, and Collins had this to say after the game. Quote, 10 penalties and 2 blocked punts. When you're playing a caliber team like that, that's not a recipe to win the game. So obviously, we've got to clean those things up. The penalties, the blocked punts, the attitude, the demeanor, the response, the disappointment, and the hurt. Seems like we've heard this one before, as this is what happens after every loss. He goes into the game saying the team showed a lot of improvement, they have a lot of penalties and dumb mistakes, and after the game, he tells them they need to get better, that they're on their way to getting better, and that the promised land is on the horizon. Georgia Tech fans have heard that for 3 years now, and in my opinion, it's going to take a miracle for him to stay there. For one, the team isn't that good, but 2, they have a pretty difficult schedule. They play Western Carolina in Week 2, and if they lose that game, I pretty much guarantee he's going to be fired on the field. That should give them 1 win, but after that, things get really difficult. They play a top 25 Ole Miss team, and then have back-to-back road games against UCF in Pittsburgh. After that, they get Duke at home, who actually looks somewhat decent. Then they also get Virginia at home, who is one of the top offenses in the ACC. They then get Florida State on the road, Virginia Tech on the road, Miami at home, North Carolina on the road, and Georgia on the road. The only win I could see there is maybe on the road against Virginia Tech, and even then, I don't know. Honestly, when I look at the schedule, I see a 2-10 campaign, and I see him being fired midway through the season. It is a tough blow to Tech fans, as not only are they going to probably suffer a couple more losing seasons, but I did really like Collins when he was at Florida and Temple, and I wanted to see him succeed. Unfortunately, he has the narrative of a used car salesman, and I don't think he's going to have the results to save his job, so this might be one of the last times I ever get to talk about him as a Georgia Tech head coach. But what do I know? If you're a Georgia Tech fan, what are your thoughts on Collins and the program? If you're an outsider, what are your thoughts on the Georgia Tech program and what they should do? And let me know another player, team, situation, or topic I can take a look at in my next video. If you want to support the channel, leave a like and a comment, subscribe if you're new, and check out all of the videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.